Welcome to A Moment of Truth on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. Today I want to talk about AI, climate change, and a meme that I saw on some idiot's Facebook page. It was trying to show that boffins, scientists, engineers have been concerned about things in the past, things that have turned out to be overblown, chicken little, utterly harmless. And of course the examples they picked out were completely bananas, absolutely insane. Things like, in the 1970s, everyone said we've got to run out of oil. Yeah, mate, we did. We ran out of oil. Not all oil, but the easy to reach stuff. And what had to happen was scientists and engineers from all over the world had to crack this problem that we had, that all the easy to reach oil was running out. The days of being able to shoot at a rabbit on your farm and up from the ground came the bubbling crude were over. And they saw this coming. So they said, okay, we need to develop new technology that will allow us to drill deeper into the ground or under the sea in order to get this oil out. Or we had to refine oil from tar sands or whatever. That had to be done. And it was done. And that's why we didn't run out of oil. And then another example it gave in this meme was in the 1980s. They said that there was a hole in the ozone layer. Yeah, there was. CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, were causing this hole in the ozone layer over the Antarctic and Australia. And this was a big problem for the planet because, as anyone who watches the internet, YouTube as much as I do knows, without the ozone layer, the sun is a deadly laser. Basically, people were getting skin cancer left, right and centre in Australia, and the situation would have got a lot worse had politicians and engineers and scientists from all over the world had not got together and done something about it and banned CFCs from their use in aerosols and fridges and things like that. And now the hole in the ozone layer has almost healed itself because we've stopped destroying it with CFCs. There's a lesson to be learned there, I fear. And also, acid rain. That was another example again. Remember when everyone was concerned about acid rain? And I'm like, yeah. People were quite rightly concerned about acid rain because acid rain was a huge problem. Acid rain is when you have sulfuric acid or nitric acid in the rainwater that's coming down. And although that's not going to make you melt like the Wicked Witch of the West, it does destroy crops. It destroys leaves, foliage, grass, trees, which is a big problem because we need crops to survive as humans. And again, these governments around the world and scientists and engineers got together and said, how can we stop this acid rain from being a problem? And they did it. And they did it brilliantly. We still have, I think in certain areas, levels of acid rain that are a bit higher than they should be, but it's nowhere near the level it was heading towards in the 1980s before we saw a problem and we took action as humans. And then the next example was the millennium bug, and I was just like, oh, for God's sake. I did a whole Three Blokes in the Pub about the millennium bug with someone who worked on stopping the millennium bug from being a problem. It was a problem. People were like, oh yeah, they said planes were going to fall out the sky. They said that people's bank accounts were going to go to zero on the 1st of January 2000. Oh, didn't happen. Yeah, because literally an army of thousands, tens of thousands of software engineers and scientists got together and said, hey, let's stop this bad thing from happening, and spent literally millions of work hours stopping the bad thing from happening. They identified a threat to humanity and they did something about it. Asbestos, banned in 1999. Lead in fuel, banned in 1999. Smoking in public places, banned in 2007. A bit late for me, but they did it. They did it. They identified a threat to human health, human happiness, human habitation, and they did something about it. What this meme was trying and failing, in my opinion, to make the point was that climate change is not something we should be concerned about. It's just one of these Chicken Little things where scientists get all upset about something that we shouldn't be upset about. And I'm looking at this thinking, this meme actually speaks volumes of the fact that when we identify an existential threat to humanity, to life on this planet as we know it, if we work together, we can do something about it. Now, in the last 24 hours, we've seen some news stories coming out about AI and how it could be a threat to our way of life. I bet, which it absolutely could be. I'm not doubting that. But the threat is being identified. That's what they're doing now. ChatGPT tomorrow isn't going to destroy the planet, okay? But in 20 years' time, if we don't do something about AI now and regulate it and make sure that it works in a way that we want it to, not in a way that could destroy our way of life, in 20 years' time, people will be like, huh, remember all that stuff about AI and how it was going to take over the world? And then we'll be like, exactly, because it didn't, because humans saw a problem, saw an existential threat, and they took action about it in a timely fashion. If only we were able to say the same thing in 20 years' time about the climate emergency.